Hello friend, John Dalton here for the Emergence podcast, where we explore the mystery, consciousness and love. In this episode we're going into the passage of time, small steps, where to find peace, living well, holding on to your soft heart, mental health, and a question about being alone or aloneness. Let's start by going through a quick review of the memes on the Further Emergence Instagram feed. I didn't write this one, but I think it's brilliant. It says, "When I was young, I didn't know the meaning of life, but after many years of hard study, I am no longer young." I don't know, there's something great about that this thing of, there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees in the spiritual life that you're going to get anything out of it. That, if you work hard and you meditate regularly, you're going to get enlightened or whatever. You're going to be happier, or there's no guarantees like that. And, I'm going to be 60 in a couple of months. And I've been, doing this for a long time. And it's really true. Like, you just keep going, doing what you're doing, and sometimes things work out in a way that you'd like, but most times not. But then there is a kind of a payoff, but it's not what you'd expect, So this really sums it up, After many years of hard study, I am now no longer young, That's part of the cosmic joke, really, isn't it? I think so. And it's beautiful. The next one I made, but I didn't write it. It's a very nice little quote from Maria Popova, who writes a weekly, I think it might be even more than a weekly, newsletter, where she just goes into the fantasticness of literature and writers and thought and people who've been around. And it's lovely. It's called the Marginillion. It's sort of like a play on the Mandalorian. So it's something along those lines. If you look up Maria Popova, you'll find her. It's such a good newsletter. So this was from one of her newsletters, and it says, "You can't tidy up the White House, but you can tidy up that neglected, messy corner of your home. You can't mend the world, but you can mend the hole in the polka dot pocket of your favorite coat. They're not the same thing, but they're part of the same thing, which is all there is. Life living itself through us, moment by moment, one broken, beautiful thing at a time." That's beautiful, isn't it? One broken, beautiful thing at a time. It's really true, isn't it? Like, it's so easy to feel helpless. It's so easy to feel like, what can I do? What can little old me do? I'm just living my life here. And all these things are happening. What can I do? And it's like there's an energy to taking care of the little things in your life. It's like that thing that's going around, or it's been going around for years, of that naval guy giving this address, an older gentleman, beautiful naval hat and the full white naval outfit, and he's addressing people, and he's talking about making your bed. You'd think he'd be talking about discipline and, how to rule the ships or whatever naval people do. He's talking about making your bed. And he's sort of saying, if you make your bed, it starts the day in a right way. And it's true, but it's so difficult, isn't it? So difficult and repetitive. Why make my bed? I'm only going to be lying in it again in another 12 hours. I'm going to mess it up again. What do I need to make it? What do I need to wash myself? I'm only going to need to wash myself again, It's so easy to just go, what's the point? But the point is, particularly if you're looking at it from the spiritual point of view, it's like everything is like a meditation. Everything is this beautiful chance to do something again and do it maybe a little bit better, or with a little bit more care, or with a little bit more love. That's kind of what Maria is talking about, I think. Of like, know about the White House or whatever your particular government is, know about it, and like be informed from as many different sides as you can. But do the things that you can do which are the little things, mending things, giving things care, love, and attention as much as you can. It makes a difference. It makes a difference in the world. It really does. It doesn't feel like it, but it does. I did write the next one. It's one of my sort of more poetic ones. It says, "The moment holds the peace. It always has. The past and the future are smoke in the mind. Let the wind blow through you and rest in the moment. Miraculous things always happen in the moment." And it's so true, isn't it? Moment's all we have. Very hard to actually come into the moment. I can't really come into the moment. I can get into about 10 minutes. 5 minutes either side of the moment, but actually to be right on the moment, it's extremely difficult because it goes so fast. The moment goes so fast that by the end of this sentence, it's already moved. It's already, that beginning of the sentence has already disappeared. The beginning of the word has already disappeared. Even by the time I get to the end of disappear, it's the moment's moved on. It goes that fast, Very difficult. I find that very difficult to really come into it. But you can get close to it. It's like that famous Johnny Depp quote about money doesn't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a big boat, a nice big luxury yacht that you can sail up pretty close to happiness with. Which I think is a very beautiful and honest description from somebody who has a lot of money, And it's similar with the moment. It's not like the moment's moves too fast. I'm not even going to try. You can try. You can keep kind of coming into it, because it's not so much about, oh yes, I'm totally in the moment. It's like I'm letting go of the past. I'm letting go of the future. That we can do. That I can do. I can stop myself from projecting forward to the future, and I can stop myself ruminating on the past. And the more I do that, the closer those two come together, and I can begin to get a bit closer to the moment, But it is true, the moment really does, it's a very strange thing, the moment. It collapses time when you really can begin to even get close to it. I suppose it's a bit like the speed of light. They talk about you getting close to the speed of light, and all sorts of strange things can happen. If you've read any of Einstein's stuff, all the different experiments he did about the twins, and one's getting older and the other one's not, and so on. And trains and balls. The moment is similar. Get close to the closer you get to the moment, the less you buy into the future, the less you ruminate on the past, and that's a good thing. And my poetic description of it being like the smoke of your mind is a bit like that, isn't it? The future, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about that thing? Past, oh, what did I do that thing? Why did I do that thing? But then the moment is just like blows through it. The next one is this fantastic picture I came across. And if you've heard me talking about these before, just think about them like it's, bedtime stories. It's like, oh, tell us that one again, It's the picture of the older lady who's got a little puppet of herself, and the little puppet is feeding a squirrel in the park. And what I say about it, here's an older woman using a puppet of herself to feed a squirrel. For me, she's a great example of using her one life wisely. And as I said, her name is Doris Dyther, and she's an 86-year-old lady and community activist. And she befriended this puppeteer guy, Ricky Sayers, and she pretty much stole the show because she was so cute. Ricky was in Central Park doing his puppets, and they became friends. And there's a lovely little documentary about them, about the two of them. 5-minute, 10-minute thing. But just this idea of it's so easy to become rigid as you get older and not do stuff like that, Who makes a puppet of themselves to go and feed a squirrel, But shouldn't we all be doing that? That's what I should be doing. I should be out there making puppets of myself and going to feed squirrels. Not so much I should, but the spirit of it, I suppose I do. I suppose I do in my own way. But it's that willingness to be a bit silly, to be a bit quirky, to let your quirkiness out, and to do things that don't make any sense just for the fun of it, just because it's fun. so easy in life, particularly as you get older, to get weighed down with everything and to become rigid and stiff, you know. So sing the silly song, make the silly dance, make the faces. It's one of the nice things about having kids around is you get to be a bit stupid around them because you've got a, you know, you've got a reason to. You're allowed to do that. But, you know, if you're in the car on your own, if you're anywhere on your own, be as crazy and silly as you like, I think. It's very good for your soul. Next one is a picture of Steel Magnolias. That scene in Steel Magnolias where Sally Field's daughter, Julia Roberts, has died. Sorry if you've never seen Steel Magnolias. But it's such a powerful scene. I love that scene. Because it's got both, it's got everything in it. Her dear lifelong friends, you know, the funeral's over, everyone's gone, and Sally Field is just there with the coffin, and her friends, you know, she's got about 3 or 4 friends who come, and it's kind of, the movie is all about them, really, the friends, and they come tentatively to, you know, it's such a painful moment because, you know, if you've watched the film, Sally Field tried to move heaven and earth to keep her daughter alive. I think she even gave her a kidney, and but she died anyway. And Sally Field is being very stoic, and, you know, tears are just coming down the side of her face, and her friends are, you know, how are you? And Sally Field starts off quietly like, I'm okay. And then she launches into this big rage, you know, this huge rage that's just coming up from her toes of like, why? Why did this happen? And what am I going to do with this pain? And what am I going to do with this grief? I don't know what to do. I want to hit something. I want to scream. I want to shout at the heavens. And Olivia Dukakis' character and Shirley MacLaine's character are always having a go at each other. They're always taking shots at each other. Mostly Olivia Dukakis, who's just very funny in it. And all the friends are kind of shocked by this explosion from Sally Field. And out of nowhere, Olivia Dukakis grabs Shirley MacLaine and pushes her towards Sally Field and says, hit her! Hit Louisa! And everyone's like, what? She said, go on, take it out on her. Suck her in the face. Give her a really good one. And the friend, Shirley MacLaine, is like, what are you talking about, you know? And it just breaks the moment. It just breaks the moment of pain into the, you know, it's both sides of existence, you know, it's intense sorrow, and it's just an intensely funny moment. And they all just start falling around laughing, especially Sally Field, because it's so ridiculous and it's so true. It's like, this is life, isn't it? This is how crazy life is, you know, like your heart is broken, and also in the next moment you can just be in stitches laughing because it's just so funny, you know. And that's the, like, I think humor, you know, if God ever spoke, it's humor, I think. Because it's just so, I don't know, it just makes my heart sing when I can see the cosmic joke and things like in that situation. So that's the scene. And then I came across this beautiful poem by Andrew Boyd, and I thought it just really went with it really well. And it says, I'm one with the universe and it hurts. When you feel connected to everything, you also feel responsible for everything, and you cannot turn away. Your destiny is bound with the destinies of others. You must either learn to carry the universe or be crushed by it. You must grow strong enough to love the world, yet empty enough to sit down at the same table with its worst horrors. You must come prepared to touch and be touched by each and everything. I am one with the universe, and it hurts. So beautiful, isn't it? Particularly the thing of being able to sit down at the table with its worst horrors, love the world, and yet be empty enough to sit down with the worst horrors. That's not easy. That's not easy to do. And to, like, saying I'm one with the universe and it hurts, it's that thing of being a of keeping your heart open, not doing the spiritual bypass thing of like, oh, it's all an illusion, it doesn't matter, and it all fades and it's not real. And it's like, yeah, it is an illusion, and yeah, it all does fade, but what's communicated in the illusion is real. Because you only have to look inside. It's where it happens inside you. Those things are real. The communication. It's like saying emails are not real, they're just bits and bobs. And that's true. Bits and bobs, bits and bytes, or whatever emails are made of, just digital ones and zeros. And that's true. That's all emails are. Yet, if you send an email to somebody telling you love them, or if you send an email to somebody telling them of your, you've got terminal cancer and you've got 6 days to live, that's real. That communication is real. And similarly, what we communicate here in this illusion, that's real, because it's inside. What's going on inside. So the challenge of keeping your heart open and being able to be with everything, that's the real challenge. And something I don't find easy, but I know it's important. It's not like you go looking for suffering. I don't think that's a good idea at all. But if suffering's in front of you, to not turn away from it. Didn't write the next one, but it's jolly good. It's kind of a follow-on. Hey, look at this. We've got a theme going. This one says, and sometimes the miracle is getting through the hard things with a soft heart. And that is a miracle, isn't it? Because it's so easy. Particularly, it's not just the one hard thing. It's that there's been many. I can remember doing some work with ambulance officers in Australia many years ago, and talking to them. They were talking about craniosacral therapy and trauma. And the guy who was responsible for training the ambulance officers said something like over 50% of ambulance officers have post-traumatic stress. And he was saying it's not like the fact that they go to one traumatic thing, like some terrible grisly accident. It's the fact that they would go to one on Monday, then they go to another one on Tuesday, another one on Thursday, another one on Friday. That it builds up, that the trauma builds up in their system. And it's a bit like that with going through hard things, Like, yes, the traumas that happen to us when we're children, they can have very deep and profound, long-lasting impacts. But also the traumas that happen to us as adults, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the rejections, the loneliness, the sorrows, the losses, so much, And it's particularly the ones that are to do with humans, the betrayals, the rejections, the unkind things that people can do, the unkind things people can say, just unconsciousness basically at play. It's very hard to experience that and to stay soft-hearted and to not kind of want to try and protect yourself from it. But that's the challenge. That's the challenge of the spiritual life, because we think we're protecting ourselves, but really what we're doing is becoming rigid on the inside, and our hearts become hard. And a hard heart is such an alien thing to us because we're not hard-hearted creatures. All you have to do is look at a baby. Babies are not born hard-hearted. It's something that we learn. You look at a baby and then you look at a crotchety old person, in the supermarket, and you go, what happened? Well, what happened was that they got hard. They went through the hard things and it hardened them, And the challenge is to not do that, just to remain soft, to remain as soft and open as the baby. Yeah, that's a challenge. I didn't write this one either, but it's very good. It says, when you notice your mental health declining, do one small thing that brings you peace. Take a shower, text a loved one, step outside. One little step is all you need to remind yourself that this is not permanent. That's great advice, isn't it? Because when we're in the middle of things, and when you're feeling low, and when your mental health is not good, it's so easy to feel like this is forever. You can be in that kind of a loop with it. And the hardest thing to do is to do the one little thing. Because when you're down and you're feeling very low, my mind anyway likes to think in grandiose terms. Like, I'm going to repaint the kitchen, that'll make me feel better. And then I go, oh God, I haven't got the energy to do that. I'm going to go on a 40-kilometer hike, that will make me feel better. Oh, I don't have the energy to do that. Or even I'm going to do some, it always goes to the extreme, always comes up with things that I have no energy to do. But those are not the things that are going to help me. What's going to help me are the sort of things this person's written about. Taking a shower, texting a loved one, just stepping outside the house, walking around the house if you can, or just walking around your back garden, or just taking a little walk. I'm just going to walk to the end of the street and back. Or I'm just even going to step outside the front door and take a few breaths of fresh air. These are trivialized by my mind, like, oh, that's not going to make any difference, but it does. Those are the things that do make the difference. So if you can remember that, it's so helpful. Just do the little thing that seems insignificant, that seems like it's not going to help. It'll help. Farm news, I don't really have a huge amount of farm news, and really that's good. After last week's action-packed plasterer trio and all the action with that, the main thing is I was beginning to notice how dry it was. The grass is kind of going yellow, and I thought, wow, we need a bit of rain, and luckily the rain has come. So I'm very pleased about that. Everything's getting a drink and the green is returning. So that's the farm news. Have you signed up for my weekly friendly notes? They're very good. If you go to the website, furtheremergence.com, you'll see, you fiddle around with it long enough, something will pop up on the bottom of the screen saying, let's keep in touch, or something like that. And then you can register then. If you've got any questions or you want to tell me how it's going, I love hearing from you. John at furtheremergence.com. Life hacks. My life hack, it's not, I don't know if this is a life hack or not, but it's something I've discovered. I've discovered walking. That sounds ridiculous when I say it. But it kind of came out of, let me put it in context for you. I know about walking. I'm sure I know about walking in the same way you know about walking. And walking is good for you, blah, blah, blah. But I suppose it comes from a combination of working with people and sort of seeing this fixation that people have with exercise. Not that there's anything wrong with exercise. Exercise is lovely. But exercise to the point of overlooking the very powerful benefits of just walking, because people want to get out there and run, train for the marathon, or go to the gym and lift weights, or do sit-ups, or do any kind of exercise that makes them kind of go, like doing squats, or that kind of thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it doesn't seem to be sustainable, I mean, how many people do you know who go to the gym year in, year out? It always seems to last like 6 months at the most. They get really into it and then it falls away. Or they'll train for a marathon and then they'll stop running. I mean, there are people who running is just part of their life, but they're few and far between. So with the walking thing, as like I was live in a valley and I walk up the side of it, and that's great, and it's very aerobic because it's very vertical. But with my what I've been doing with I've been having food-free days, food-free, liquid-free days, and I've been just generally detoxifying. And I was noticing that on the day after the food-free, liquid-free day, I was feeling really achy and no energy, and it would take me about half a day to come back to normal. And I just thought, oh, well, that's what happens, isn't it? And then I did a bit of research on it, and it was like, no, I'm not doing enough. I'm not helping my body. And the walking that I'm doing is not, it's too kind of aerobic and too short. So I started walking, I sort of walk for half an hour, and it is kind of going uphill, but not steep, not as steep. I walk for half an hour and then I turn around and come back. And the walk I was doing up the side of the valley would have been about the same, but this is just nice and steady, slow incline, then turn around and come back. And I was doing it like with the walking up the side of the valley, I was doing that every second or third day, not every day, whereas I started doing this every day. And so I did that for whatever it was, 3 or 4 days in a row. Then I had my next food-free, liquid-free day. And the day after, no problem at all. I jumped out of the bed like a spring lamb. Completely different experience. And it made me realize that, walking is so important because it helps to integrate everything, it moves your lymph around, and your lymph doesn't have anything pumping it around. So it relies on movement to move. Your lymph is like the waste disposal system in your body. So movement is really helpful for that. And then I heard somebody describe it as taking your body for a walk like you would take a dog for a walk. I thought, that's something about that, isn't it? There's something about a little bit of distance from your body and kind of going, okay, I think I need to take my little body for a walk, And I've changed, I do yoga as well. So I changed because I noticed with it's so funny, it's very gentle walking. It's not like I'm power walking or anything like that. But I noticed that I was getting like little tightnesses in my legs. So I changed around my yoga. I use Tara Stiles on YouTube. I've been doing yoga with Tara Stiles for years. She just suits me. And so I found a sort of leg stretching, calf kind of stretching thing, and very good, very helpful. So that's my life hack. Walking. Revolutionary, I know. Now, let me tell you quickly about my trainings. I've got 3 trainings on the go at the moment, okay? 2 of them, if you're interested in going into the mystery, the first 2 trainings will be particularly useful for you. The first one is Meditation for Growth and Consciousness training. That's a 4-week training, and it's about using meditation to help you go into the mystery more consciously. It's great. It's really good. Of course, I'm going to say that, but it is. The second training is about helping you overcome the distractions of the psychic world, because the psychic world is something that you go through. You have to go through it on the way to the mystery. You go through it every night on the way to deep dreamless sleep, but when you're meditating or when you're consciously going into the mystery, you go through the psychic world, and it's very easy to get distracted in it. So that training is about understanding it and helping you to navigate it without getting distracted so you can go to the mystery. And then the third training is for craniosacral therapists, and it's a masterclass I taught years ago, but we videoed the whole thing. So there's like 7 hours of video there, and if you're a craniosacral therapist, it's just packed with really useful stuff. So they're all on the website, furtheremergence.com. There's a trainings tab there. Click that and you'll see the drop down for that. Now, in response to the question I posted on Instagram, what's the biggest challenge you're facing at the moment in your spiritual life? This person wrote, the letting go aloneness feeling. Letting go for me creates an expanse or an opening in that place, almost a bubble, I guess. There's an aloneness feeling. Non-attachment is like floating. And if you bump into an expectation, say, you acknowledge and push yourself back into the floating non-attachment state. The image I have is myself floating in the sea in dark swells, alone. Almost panic that turns into acceptance. I hope that's clear. Thank you, John. I'm listening to your podcast as I write this. Cheers. Yes, I know what you mean. And I know how that can be a challenge. Is it can make you repel from it when you touch into it, when you touch into the aloneness. And I kind of talk about it a little bit, and I allude to it in that thing of like that everything happens inside you. We feel like we're having an outside existence and we're interacting with people, and I love this person and that person bothers me, thinking that it's all happening out here, but it's not. It's all happening inside. And the same thing, I like asking this question about how come everything is from my perspective? How come for my whole life I've only ever looked out of these eyes and I've only ever had my experience? I only ever feel anything inside my system, whether it's in the sensation in my hands or my arms or inside me. If I get angry, I'm not getting angry inside, inside someone else's body. It's like being in the car with somebody who's got road rage and they're like screaming, you bastard, or whatever they're saying to somebody out there. And you're like, they can't hear you, but I can. Because it's all just happening inside the car, in a way you're sort of saying it to me. It's like that, everything happens inside us. And the more you kind of go into that, you kind of go, I don't know what it's like, these other people, the closest I've ever felt with somebody, the deepest love I've ever felt with somebody. It all just happened inside me, Is this all just me? Is it just me? Are other people really there? That kind of thing. And that's not, you won't be alone in thinking that. Like lots of other people have thought the same thing, Like it's in a lot of cultures, or certain cultures, where this idea that God is lonely. God is a being that is lonely and has created all these little versions of itself because it's lonely. Not saying that's true or not, but it's in that kind of, speaks to that aloneness. I came across, it's funny, I came across this quote from Erwin Schrodinger, the dude with the cat, Schrodinger's cat. And he won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1993. 1993? I don't think so. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1933. And his quote is, "The total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings." Right? Pretty wild. My spiritual master Barry Long used to say that as well. He used to say there's only one I in the universe, and that's the I in that body hearing these words. So that's all pretty wild stuff. And that's where certainly my experience of that feeling of aloneness comes from, is when you sort of touch into it. It's a little bit like what I was saying earlier on about the moment. It's like you can touch into it a little bit. And when you touch into that aloneness feeling, you can get a sense of it, the vastness of it, how big and how, it's not terrifying, but it's shocking. I find it shocking when I touch into it, that it could be just all me, And it's quite natural to bounce off that and want to not face it. But I've found that there's great value in facing it. There's great value in going into the aloneness and seeing what is it that is uncomfortable about it. And I would encourage you to do this in small doses, or just as much as you can manage, because it can be quite painful. But the more you do it, the more you can hear what's going on inside you. When you consciously go into the aloneness, you hear things that you wouldn't hear otherwise. Because most of, unconsciousness does not like aloneness. Okay, it does not want to face it. So that's where the many distractions come from. Whether it's booze or Netflix or shopping or friends or parties or you name it. That they're all distractions. Everything actually is a distraction away from this aloneness. It's pretty awful to face into it. But it's a little bit like the mystery. The mystery can be a bit awful when you first begin to touch into it. Because compared to all the exciting things you can do in the psychic world and meet all these psychic entities and guides and spirit guides and angels and ascended masters and get all this, cool information and channeled entities and whatnot. The mystery is dead boring in comparison. There's nothing in the mystery to speak of, except the truth of that it's where we go to every night. We run to it. We run to the mystery. I'm so tired, I can't wait to go to sleep, and then we come back and we're refreshed. So we know, but yet in meditation, which is kind of going into the mystery consciously, it's like, oh God, not this again, this not thinking, this not nothing. There's nothing here. There's nothing here to speak of, So the resistance to the mystery is the same as the resistance to the aloneness. But similarly, in the same way that my mind doesn't understand what happens when I meditate, doesn't understand what happens in the mystery, doesn't really understand the mystery, but it can understand that there are benefits. It can see the benefits to the meditation. That's why I don't have complete outright revolt. That's why my mind puts up with it. And it's the same with the aloneness. Because if you go with your very simple knowledge of what happens. So let's say you're at a party, and it's one of those parties where it's going really well, and you're saying very good things, and people are laughing, and you just get the feeling that everybody thinks you're very charming, and it's flowing, and it's easy, and you feel great. Those kind of parties? Those feelings all happen inside you. They're triggered, for sure, by the party and everything that's happening and all the lovely people that are around you. But you don't experience those feelings in those people. Okay? What's happening is triggering the feelings inside you. So, all those feelings are there inside you all the time. It's just a matter of finding out how to trigger them. And that's one of the benefits of facing into the aloneness, because my mind would, 2 weeks after the party be going, oh, wasn't that party great? And I'd be remembering it, thinking about it, going, oh, I wish that was happening again. That was so enjoyable. And it would be completely fixated on, I need the external trigger. I need the thing outside me to make me feel that way. Whereas when you face into the aloneness and kind of go, it's all in me. Everything is in me. Yes, let's just say, for argument's sake, I am the only being in existence. In which case, it's all inside me. Let me just sit with that. Let me just sit into that, and let me hold the intention that I want to find those triggers. I want to find it where it is inside. And in my experience, it dawns on you slowly. It's not like you kind of, oh, I've figured out where the triggers are. It's like these, these switches, banks of switches. I'll turn on the happiness, It's not like that. It's like the sun rising, If you've ever got up to see the sunrise, certainly in Ireland, because it takes forever for the sun to rise in Ireland. In Australia, it's like it ricochets into the sky. But in Ireland, it takes about half an hour. And if you've ever got up to watch the sunrise here, like, generally what used to happen with me is I'd say to a friend, like, hey, we get up and watch the sunrise. Yeah, right, we can do that. And we'd climb up onto the hill or whatever, and it's in the dark, and we're like, yeah, okay. And we're waiting for the sunrise. And we're waiting for the sunrise. And then we're getting bored, and then we start talking, and like, oh my God, when's it ever going to rise? And then we start talking about something else. And we get deep in conversation, and then we look around and the sun's up. It's like that. It's like, it feels like, this loneliness, this alone feeling is so intense. Is it ever going to change? This aloneness, this expanse, as this person says, am I ever going to get through it? Am I ever going to get across this desert of aloneness? And then I get distracted, and then suddenly I notice that I'm a bit happier than I usually am. And there's nobody around, and there's nothing happening. They've got no reason to be happy. But I'm not ecstatic, I'm not euphoric. It's not like the party. It's not as good as the party, but it's better. It's better than other times when I've just been on my own. And the more time I face into that aloneness, the more my baseline feeling of well-being rises, like the sun. So it's an ongoing thing, and it is a challenge to the spiritual practice because it has that bouncing off it kind of feeling of like, you sort of go, yeah, aloneness, only one eye in the universe. Let me ponder on that, and then you start to feel it, and you're like, whoop, no. Hey, let me just do something to distract. Let me call somebody, call somebody in from the kitchen, or just call someone on the phone. I don't want to feel that, bounce away from it. It's very understandable, because you're kind of like you could sum up the spiritual life in that it is counter to the structure of existence. Meaning the structure of existence is designed as an illusion, and it's designed to be super believable and captivating. It's like, like Apple just came out with this new visor thing, which is just another example of we're just trying to have more and more of an immersive kind of an experience, because we don't like, if we're playing a video game or we're watching a movie, the more we can feel like we're in the movie, the better. So existence is just like that on steroids, and it's designed to not distract you with the fact that it's an illusion. It's designed to make you have a really immersive and fun experience, even if the fun is terror. Like if somebody likes to go to horror movies. So when you become more conscious, and in the spiritual life, becoming more conscious is about kind of going, hey, this is not real. This is an illusion, and pulling back from it because you want to kind of feel into what is real. The difficulty with that is you're kind of swimming against the stream pretty intensely, So it's understandable, and it can feel like a challenge, but really what it is, it's just another day in the spiritual life, which has its own built-in kind of challenges. So yes, it is challenging, but then it's not going to stop you, and I get the impression that you know that from what you've written. All right, that's all I've got for you this time. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.